C2 Wrestling Podcast. Boys are back. CTD, Snowden, the mascot, Tommy Boy doing a whole cleaning. That's how relaxed he is. He's excited for the pod. Plenty to talk about. We're on the road to Clash in Paris. Subscribe if you haven't already. We will be live for the Clash in Paris with our reactions. Next week, we'll give predictions. We do have some new official matches. We do have plenty of chatter about what's been going on Raw. We've been pretty vocal about some things, but some other things we got to talk about. All of that. NXT Heatwave. We'll get to it all, I promise. But it's all secondary to how Snowden is doing today.
How am I doing today? Early start to the day, popped open my eyes, got ready a little bit, changed my clothes, brushed my teeth, and we're right to the podcast today. So, started the day talking wrestling. Doesn't get much better than that, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, it's much worse things you could be doing. I would much rather wake up, get ready, and immediately start talking about wrestling, which, to be fair, is pretty much what we do anyway. We just are doing it in text form. This, we, have to pretty ourselves up as best as we can to get on camera, of course.
Not that hard.
Yeah, it's just, this is, I could wake up or go to sleep right now. That's how I look at all times. I'm very interested with this build kind of coming to a head for Clash in Paris. I'm excited for the card. The card is shaping out nice. There's still some question marks on what will be on the card, what won't be on the card. We know they normally don't do more than 5 matches for a solo pay-per-view, and we're already at, I believe, 4, and the women's world title would be the 5th. Am I correct in saying so?
Well, just a touch. We'll get into the matches that have been recently announced, but newly announced Roman versus Bronson. Reed is official. Yep. So you got Roman versus Bronson. You got this Fatal 4-Way. Correct. You got the Donnie Brooke match, Donnie versus Brooke. You got...
I feel like there was another one announced.
Yeah, what am I missing? Yeah.
Technically the women's world title, but...
Sure.
We'll
keep that off for now, yeah. What am I missing? There's definitely a 4th match that I'm just totally blanking on. I don't know why I don't have the card.
Cody versus Drew hasn't been announced.
Hasn't been announced. I don't think so either. I think they're saving that.
AJ's had no traction.
That one's crazy to me. Talk about that a little bit.
Potentially could get Becky, Nikki. I don't know if we will there. The tag titles, not really seeming so. And
Cena versus Logan.
Cena versus Logan. There.
How did we forget that?
We ran through all the title matches, and it was a 9-title match. It's practically a Raw pay-per-view. I mean,
yeah, pretty much.
Like that's.
I think the matches are fun. I like how it's shaped up. I think this is a good PLE card. They're going to have to squeeze the woman on there to some degree. We talked a little bit briefly on the Monday Night Raw review. Naomi, pregnant, congrats, great. Women's world title. Vacant is champion yet again. So we'll see where they go with it. Stephanie Vaquer was in the #1 contender slot. Had a match slotted against Naomi at Clash in Paris. Won the Evolution Battle Royale to get there. You kind of discussed them scrapping that match entirely. Stephanie just not having a match. I think that would be kind of nuts for them to just take her off the card entirely. They're going to get women on the card one way or another. They have to. Becky versus Nikki, possible. Women's tag titles, possible, sure. I think you still got to get Stephanie in some slot. I don't know if they're going to crown a women's champion that soon. I think it would be kind of nuts, though, to just scrap the women's world title match as a whole. They only got one more Monday Night Raw until Clash in Paris, so yeah, it'd be kind of quick booking to get somebody in the Naomi slot and have them face Stephanie. I'm not opposed, though, to... Thought of this the other day, post our Monday Night Raw review. Potentially, you do book it. Whatever you do. Stephanie takes on the winner of Io versus Rhea versus Asuka on Monday Night Raw. Whatever. Who knows? And Rhea wins. Io wins. Asuka wins. Doesn't even matter. Whoever faces Stephanie Vaquer during their match at Clash in Paris, somebody else interferes. DQ, count out, whatever. No champion is crowned. Keep the title vacant for a little bit. At least get Stephanie on the card. It adds the women's match into the card. Adds a little bit of, lore to what's going to happen with this women's world title.
Yeah, see, I would agree with that if we didn't have Raw already. Since we had Raw, it's like, I'm pretty confident this match is not happening. Yeah, it is a shame. it's even more upsetting Stephanie just wasn't even on the show. That
Yeah.
like at the very least, like give her like at least she might have been on like in a backstage segment. I don't know, but like it was not a prominent,
Yeah.
it should have been a Stephanie segment. Hell, she should have came out like after Naomi was walking out, Stephanie should have come out and they did, that Cody Roman right at the entranceway. It should have been something like that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we were supposed to face. There's still some possibilities. My gut says they put the women's tag titles on. I don't know why. That's what my gut
I
says,
hate
just
that, to
because,
be honest.
yeah, it's just the easiest to quick book. You know what I mean? Not that Nikki versus Becky would be quick booking. It's been going on for a few weeks, but it doesn't feel like that's the time yet for the match. Who knows? Maybe they make it official next week. That's very possible. There's still an event in September. I don't see Nikki versus Becky being dragged all the way to that event. So maybe that's the match. I don't know. It is going to be a women's match, though. I'd be quite surprised if they went with 5 men's matches on a non-Saudi show. That would feel, you know,
I mean, even the Saudi shows all have women matches nowadays too.
I mean, the last one, it was 50% women's matches.
Yeah.
But, that's the only one where it's like, oh, I can understand. Like Saturday night's main event. Okay, it was paired
Evolution.
with Evolution.
Yes.
Evolution is all women's matches, so that's fair. The one match they did make, Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed. Love that. We know this is a chase, though, for the bigger match that's already been made. That's the Fatal 4-Way for the World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins, Jey Uso, CM Punk, LA Knight. Snowden, I'm not even joking. I sometimes will go on social media, regretfully. I will look at tweets and I will be like, man, who is forcing you to watch these segments or shows? Something you hate this much, clearly, you don't have to watch. We mentioned in our Raw review, it felt a bit repetitive. It felt obvious. We still watched. We still like the guys involved. We like the little nuances of LA Knight, CM Punk, whatever. There's still aspects that we liked about it. It wasn't the worst thing ever. You go on social media, and I know, don't go on social media, but you would truly think that one, Jey Uso is the worst wrestler to ever put on shoes and step into a ring.
Yeah.
And two, the Vision is the worst faction ever made and a waste of everyone's time. Like, it is mind-blowing, the shit that gets put out there.
Yeah, these people, again, they weren't watching 08 to 2012, whatever, the dark days. If this is the worst shit they've ever seen, they weren't watching during the worst shit we've ever seen. I will gladly take the Vision over the fucking Los Matadors or some shit. There's been worse tag teams, worse factions in the world. I don't understand it. Everybody was hyped as could be when Seth and Braun first paired post WrestleMania. Oh, are they going to add somebody? They're going to add somebody. We were predicting it for a while. We're just waiting for Bronson Reed to heal up those ankles and throw him in the group. It fits so well, and they did it, and it's perfect. I love it. The Seth injury, the work of the century, the ruse of the century, keeps Seth off TV for a little bit, gives Bronson and Braun a little bit of time to shine. I've seen a lot of complaints online. Oh, they've knocked down Braun Breaker to be a henchman. Oh, man. What do you want this guy to be? World champion next to the world champion? Like, I just don't understand. And this goes deeper than even just the Vision. We've talked so much about Carmelo Hayes, Roxanne Perez, all this younger talent that, like, has years left in the tank. When there's a whole other crop of people that LA Knight is the better example, too. All these people crying about Braun maybe not doing more right now, but then they're also crying about LA Knight not getting a championship and this and that. If you're going to put the title and put the rocket on Braun, LA Knight is never seeing that title. The guy's 40-something years old. Use these guys that are over, that are big, the Jey Usos, the LAs, and all that. The time will come for a Braun Breaker, a Bronson Reed, and all these other names. I don't understand the hate on the Vision stable to begin with. I think it's been great. I think it's a great pairing. I'm not... Oh, sorry, choked my words there. The only thing I'm not crazy on is I wish they would change Seth a little bit. I feel like it's still kind of crazy outfit running around Seth. when I feel like they should kind of change that a little bit. I don't know if I need him to still be running that same type of gimmick. I think they could, kind of like Braun and Bronson, throw the black suit back on Seth, and have him come out to that tone. Maybe that would help the group a little bit. Again, we talked on the Monday Night Raw review. Yeah, the nights have been repetitive. Monday Night Raw, it's been a lot of run-ins, a lot of this, a lot of that. We're leading up to War Games. I understand it's probably going to be exactly what we're getting for a little while now. Maybe some new names trickle in, some names trickle out. But I don't understand the Vision hate. More importantly, I don't understand the Jey Uso hate.
Dude, so you touched on Braun Breaker, and people are like, he's been lessened to this. Braun Breaker, I love the Intercontinental Championship, but he went from being in the Intercontinental title scene to feuding with fucking Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. Like, we're acting like he's on main event.
Every Monday Night Raw, he's on screen with the World Heavyweight Champion.
Oh, they turned him to a henchman. Just like 2 weeks ago, he speared Roman through the barricade. Like, he's not like, this isn't J&J security with Rollins. Like, it's not like they just get goozled all the time.
Yeah.
Like, and guess what? If you're like, oh, he lost to Jay on Raw. He lost to Jay before, and he's also beat Jay before. Like, what are we doing here? This is no different. The Jey Uso hate, though, it just drives me insane in the fact that, like, he doesn't have to be your favorite. There's plenty of guys that aren't my favorite that, are bad, or I'd say okay, in my opinion. I'm just, like, indifferent on them. I'm just like, all right, whatever. Jay, it's like, I just don't get it. Like, I don't think people, do they watch wrestling? No. Again, I'll go back to the classic saying that we got from Chris Van Vliet, that wrestling's like a buffet. There's something for everyone. Jey Uso, 1,000,000% caters more to a younger audience, without question. I don't think people will debate you on that. Why does it make you so infuriated that he's winning or on television? Like, I don't get that. Well, like, you'll use the same argument of, not you, obviously, but they'll use the same argument of, like, just using his name, not saying him specifically. They'll be like, Karrion Kross or LA Knight, they're the top merch seller. Why aren't they getting this opportunity? Fair. I like those guys. I agree. Guess who's also a top merch seller getting an opportunity? Jey Uso. Guess who's also a top merch seller who gets opportunities? Cody Rhodes. There's other top merch sellers that have been top merch sellers for like 2 years now. You'd think Jey Uso just fucking showed up yesterday and got like a semi-loud reaction, and WWE was like, all right, let's have him win some matches. He's been getting crazy crowd reactions for 2 years now.
Yeah, I mean, for those that have been with C2 for the entirety, we've been around a little over a year now. This dates back to even a little bit of pre-C2 booking. Been on that Jey Uso train for a while. I called up Triple H about 2 years ago. I said, H, listen here, Levesque. This is what you're going to do with Jey Uso. And they did exactly that for the entirety of these last 2 years, that Jey Uso run, which I'm sure we're not the only ones out there that predicted at least even the possibility of Jey Uso winning the Rumble. But to a T, that Jey Uso run from the IC title onward, saw it coming because it should have came the way it did. Jey Uso is incredibly over with the fans. And yes, it does cater to a younger audience. I understand some people, Ryan, think the Yeet is corny. I get it. It's a little corny. It is. Yes, it doesn't hit to me even like the what chant, which is overplayed. Don't get me wrong. But you know what I mean? The small catchphrases, everybody's got their thing. But the Yeet got over. Things just get over. Is there really any like less corny than yes? Not really. No, it's kind of the same thing if you ask me. Caters to the younger audience. Jey Uso's in the slot that 08 Jeff Hardy was in. Jey Uso's in the slot that purple shirt Cena was in. And there's a little bit of blurred lines in WWE nowadays. It is a TV 14-ish program again to a point at certain times. And Jey Uso blends the line, kind of caters to both types of audiences, but it is a little bit kid heavy. They buy the fucking t-shirts, though. The kids buy the t-shirts. The parents buy the t-shirts for the kids. The parents buy the t-shirts for themselves to wear them with the kids. He is the top merch seller. Coming down that, ramp at all the arenas and the kids are yelling eat into the mic and everybody's eating. It ain't going anywhere. Jey Uso has put on great matches in his time. Okay, Jey versus Jimmy at WrestleMania 40 was a stinger. We know, we get it, we acknowledge it. We've moved on from it. All his matches prior to that, we were calling them some of the best tag team matches in ages at that point. There was matches of the Usos versus the Wyatts, Usos New Day, that are classic tag team matches. Jey Uso is a great wrestler. He's got so much charisma. I think he's pretty great on the mic. There's a great gimmick behind his whole shtick right now that works. The little things, him coming out, run it back, run the music back. The crowds go crazy. We have said this countless times. We've driven this point home. The online community is a vocal minority. It's all about what happens in that arena. And WWE has even acknowledged this. Other wrestlers, commentary, all these people have acknowledged it doesn't matter what the internet says about Jey Uso. That whole arena puts those hands up in the air and drops them down and yeets when he comes out.
If I have to see one more fucking post about his spear, I swear to fucking God. Like, this is the worst spear ever. Look, is it fucking Braun Breaker's spear? No. To me, when I see it, I'm like, Jey just found his own way to do the spear. Like, Jey made his spear different. So it's not like Braun Breaker's spear is not the same as Edge's spear. It's not the same as Rhino's gore. It's not the same as Goldberg's spear. Like, they're all different. They're the same move, but they're all different. Jey's is different. It's how he does it. He does it differently. Why? I don't know. But when I see it, I'm like, that's Jey's version of the spear. Do I think it's good or bad? I don't really give a fuck. I really don't.
I don't.
Like, the amount I see about it is insanity.
Insanity. And it also, too, I got to make a quick point. It makes sense. Like, Jey Uso isn't just doing the spear out of nowhere, kind of like he gets it from Roman.
He's been doing it for like 3 years, too.
Yeah, and it's like it comes from Roman. It comes from the bloodline together, their feud, all of it. Like, it makes sense for the move to, like, in a way, be passed over to Jey Uso. It's not like he just started doing fucking 619s. I don't know, like, it wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, like, look, I mean, we'll probably revisit this so many times.
Yeah,
because
forever.
It's not going away anytime soon. What drives me just as insane, and we talked about this recently on Monday's video, the hate that Rollins gets. And like, I'll see it too from people who will be like, they'll go insane for his cash in. They'll go insane for the thought of, we need Rollins versus Roman. We need Rollins versus Punk. They'll say all that, and then on the flip side, they'll be like, this is why ratings suck. Rollins is the worst. Roman needs to be champion. I love Roman. Like, I'm just using him as a fucking name. Make up your mind. Like, I don't get it. I agree with you. I think not just his look, more so his like theme.
Yeah.
There needed to be a bit of a change to Rollins for this faction to really make it feel more like a faction, because it does have a bit of that three individuals, which is fine because that's what they are. But they have a team name and they have a manager. Like, you got to kind of tie it together. Maybe some more dapper suits or something like that, not just as crazy and outgoing. Another thing with Rollins, though, that people refuse to accept with him being where he is, Seth is really crossed towards mainstream.
For sure.
Seth is on Good Morning Football like all the fucking time.
Talking about the Bears.
He's like a guest host plenty of times.
Yeah.
There's like, I feel like every other week he's on that damn show at this point. Yeah. From the last, like, a couple months ago to now, he's on a good amount. Plenty of football fans who don't watch wrestling know who Seth Rollins is. On top of him being a Bears fan, like, he's kind of crossed over. Look, is he John Cena? No. Is he even Roman Reigns? I don't think so. But he's definitely a big fucking name.
I mean, he didn't get in, unfortunately. Some scenes got cut, but he's even done Marvel movies. is. Like he's acting to probably a small degree, and I'm pretty sure he's even said in the past that like that's never going to be his gig. He's wrestling throughout, but mainstream enough to kind of get that positioning in life. Seth Rollins is amongst the best to ever do it. It's very like fun, ranking, this, that. It's arbitrary in a way. Said and done, when you look at the best wrestlers of all time, people always look back at the Mount Rushmores, the Cenas, the Hogans, the Stone Colds, the Rocks. When it comes down to it, like the Styles of the world, the Daniel Bryans, the Seth Rollins, like those guys are in that grouping as well. Seth is one of the best to ever do it. The whole gimmick change, him in the Vision, it'd be like when he left the Shield and joined the Authority if he was still wearing the Shield gear all the time. Like you do got to kind of change it up. Cena heel turn, was calling it from the beginning. You got to change it up a little bit more. I think that, and especially in hindsight, I think it's very easy to look back now where even Cena has come out and said his original promo in Belgium, he botched it. It wasn't good. I think they didn't run with the Cena heel turn. They didn't change his gear, his music. Like those things could have helped it. And I think it's not to the extent of Rollins like it would have been with Cena, don't get me wrong, but those little things matter. I think Rollins needs a little bit of a change, and it would do a greater good for the entirety of the group. If they never change it, the Vision is still a fantastic stable. When it comes down to it as well, the Vision could be up there when they're said and done as one of the greatest stables to ever do it. We've been on the boat, too, of get those tag titles on Braun and Bronson. I need them to kind of be not only kind of doing their own thing on the side, but just get some more involvement outside of like the run-ins and all that. Seth Rollins hate, though. Just talked about Jey Uso. Crazy to hate on Jey Uso. Don't understand it. I will never understand it. Hating on Seth Rollins is a whole other level to me.
You mentioned that Seth, when he turned on the Shield, never changed. Remember, Roman wore the Shield attire well into, he obviously changed vest after a while.
Yeah.
But that was one of the biggest gripes, and he kept the theme music. Everyone was like, he needs to change. There needs to be a change. Like that was the extreme of, like I would put like Cena's is up there. Roman's is like the extreme. Cena's is closer to it.
Yeah.
Seth's isn't at that. They still have time to do it, but it's one of those, if we look a year and a half, 2 years from now, and the factions split up, and it felt like we never really got that true momentum, this is going to be one of the things we look back at where it's like, well, they didn't change anything to his character, anything to his look, anything to his entrance, some of those things, even just tweaking it helps. I like the Vision. I'm excited for the
Do you like the name, The Vision?
I like it too.
I don't know if we ever talked about that on here.
I like it because it's like Seth's vision of what WWE should be. Like, yeah, him at the top, Heyman not with Punk and Roman.
Yeah.
And two of the most badass guys with him at all times. Like, I like it. I think it's very fitting.
Yeah, I thought they were going to go Empire for a minute because Heyman was kind of dropping that line. But Vision makes sense. I bring it up because I just think about it from time to time. I did really like the idea of them being called the Revolution because that makes sense to Rollins, Evolution, playoff. But the revolutionary Ricky Starks, you kind of can't do that.
Yeah, that's fair. With the Bronson and Braun, my thing with them, and we'll kind of start to segue this towards Roman talk a little bit. We have Bronson Reed set up against Roman. Love it. Awesome.
Great for Bronson.
Don't expect Roman to lose, but love Bronson is getting, this is Roman's first one-on-one PLE match since what? Mania 40 against Cody?
It might be. Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah.
He's had some triple threats.
Tag matches.
A triple threat. He's had some tag matches. And him versus Solo was on Raw. It wasn't on a PLE. Yeah. So it's a great shine for Bronson. Seth still has plenty with Roman, possibly Punk, maybe even LA Knight. In the future, maybe Sami Zayn, maybe not since he's moved to SmackDown. Bronson and Braun, though, they're nearing like, all right, I don't need a ton more of them with Jay or them with Roman. They can, help Rollins, but I'm nearing like, I don't need it to be their focal point much
Hmm.
longer. Them going for the tag titles, them starting separate feuds. You pick a team, pick two big names. Hell, it could be fucking Jay and Jimmy for all we know. Like
Hmm.
they just need something separate from what Rollins is doing, where it's like they're still a faction, they still help each other, but they have their own story. Rollins has their own story, and how WWE is done, where all these stories get intertwined. That's the perfect example where it's like, oh, they're feuding with this team and also kind of this team. Rollins is feuding with this guy and also kind of this guy. So when they have issues, this person's still involved. Like, we need to creep towards there. Not for war games, though. No interest in that.
Yeah, no interest for war games. I do like the idea. Again, we've reiterated this point of Braun and Bronson capturing tag team gold. And, you can kind of intertwine the storylines a little bit where touching on Judgment Day, Dom and Finn looks like there's going to be a little bit of tension there again. Dom is en route to probably be AAA champion, maybe alongside being IC champion. I believe I pitched last week the idea of that happening and then JD and Finn lose the tag titles and then Dom's kind of on top in the Judgment Day. Maybe by having Braun and Bronson be the guys to take the tag titles off JD and Finn, that also kind of helps turn the idea of JD and Finn being faces. Maybe that helps that face turn. This is so spitballing, but I love the idea of post Clash in Paris there just being like a tag team tournament on Monday Night Raw to get number one contenders. And, you kind of get all the tag teams, the Creed Bros, the New Day, fuck it, pair Penta up with somebody, I don't know, Dragon Lee, whatever. Just get these guys on the card. Braun and Bronson ultimately end up winning that tournament, winning the tag titles, gets them feuding with tag teams outside of the LA, the J, the Punk. That's kind of the main point. Is it might even take a month or two to get there when they're going for the titles, but I no longer need them being directly involved in the Seth Rollins feud. Yeah, be at his corner, be at his side, help him out. You still got Heyman there though too, so you don't really need Bronson and Braun at ringside every match. I would rather them be involved in, again, just separated feuds with other tag teams, other superstars. The Jey Uso, Punk, LA Knight triangle, kind of we'll call it. Jey Uso just gave him all the credit in the world. He is a little thrown in right now to that, if I'm being honest, but it still works. Their triangle is fine. I no longer need Braun and Bronson tied up with them, though. I think we can move on from that for now.
Yeah, and look, do I think Jay's going to move to SmackDown? I said actually a few weeks ago that I think that is going to be the
Jimmy's.
route. Um, what's up?
Oh, I thought you were going to say Jimmy to Raw.
No,
I
no,
think we
no.
talked about that, didn't we?
We did. Remember, I said I think Jay's going to end up going
Mm-hmm.
to SmackDown.
Yeah.
I think Sammy going to SmackDown kind of helps that, and that
Yeah.
could potentially be the War Games match where it's Jacob Fatu, Sammy, Jay,
Jay.
Jimmy against four of the MFT. Maybe they get a fifth, and then Tamatonga
Yeah, comes
returns.
back. Yeah.
Like something like that. I would prefer that over the Vision and a tag team against Roman, Jay, LA Knight, CM Punk, and I don't know, Penta, some fifth, where it's
Well,
like, like I just don't need that mashup going all the way until Survivor Series.
I agree. And more so, just the mashup not needing to go that far. I'm kind of getting tired of like every Survivor Series, we're not getting the titles defended. I'd rather Rollins just straight
That
up
too.
have a title defense against an LA Knight, a Punk, and anybody
Against
at
Roman
Survivor
Reigns.
against Roman Reigns. Yeah, like Survivor Series is a big enough PLE. It's in a fucking baseball stadium, like
Yeah.
you could do it, But War Games, I don't need it at all this year. The MFT versus whatever faction of Jey Uso, Sammy, even that isn't quite doing it for me, if I'm being honest. But it probably is the better route this year.
I think so too. And also, you can then make it where that doesn't have to main event. So you're not in the spot where War Games has to main event the
Yeah,
PLE. But I mentioned we'll segue a little bit to Roman because it is interesting. Him facing Bronson Reed now being official. Love that.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a few more weeks of Roman, and I'm also glad people have finally relaxed on, well, Roman and Cody have filming for Street Fighter. Like it's the first ever time wrestlers have ever been filming a movie while also still active.
Wrestlers do movies?
Like it's insane. Like, all right, Cody wasn't on SmackDown last week. Probably is back next week. If
Yeah.
not, he misses one more week and then he's back and he's probably done with filming for all of his parts. Like the way people just
Yeah.
exaggerate all of that. Like Roman probably is nearing, or hell, he may even be at the point right now. Cena is literally never stopped filming in all of this. But Roman faces Bronson Reed at Clash. We know we still need Roman versus Rollins at some point. Hell, we need Roman versus Punk. Hell, you can do the triple threat again. It seems like we're probably not going to get Roman versus Cena, which kind of is a shame. Not that like it was Cena's biggest story or biggest feud, but it does really
Money.
feel, yeah, the
The
money
marquee match.
and they're playing the hits with Cena anyway for this retirement tour. Like that's one of the hits, it would have made sense. Hell, even them in a tag match, I wouldn't have been shocked at. But I think the path is starting to clear up a bit for Roman, where he's gonna go after Rollins. I could see him losing and he goes away for another month. I could see the path kind of laying out like this. Faces Bronson Reed, beats him, probably is on an every other week, roughly. Ends up facing Rollins for the title at Survivor Series. The division costs him. That's already in November. The Rumble's right around the corner. December is going to be solely focused on Cena. I mean, December may as well be John Cena's month.
Yeah.
So you're not even really thinking about that. Boom, you're at the Rumble. It is Rumble build. You're right there. Roman's going to be there for the Rumble. I can see his path kind of playing out like that. I don't think he's going to win the Rumble, but it feels the Roman Punk, Rollins Roman Punk triple threat. Like any of those could be a Mania main event, and I'm happy. Hell, it could be night 2 main event, and I'm happy.
Yeah. The idea of the singles matches, Seth Roman, Seth Punk, Punk Roman, any collection of that are almost must-have matches at some point. I cannot get past the idea of them running back the triple threat. I love the idea of the triple threat being a run back at Mania 42. It should be the night 2 main event. Who knows the Cody Rhodes WWE champion route right now? But when it comes down to it, well, post Mania, or I'm sorry, post Cena's return, we have an idea. We do have an idea. And I imagine that to be the case for us. That's electric. But does that main event night 2 over a run back of that triple threat? I don't think it should. I think that's a night 1 main event, And I think that's
perfect.
That's why it's perfect. That is why it's perfect. And, if people are wondering who we're talking about, you're a fucking coward. You must not be watching enough C2 because it's pretty damn obvious. Now, that name I'm going to name in a second, alongside of, honestly, Roman Reigns, who, I don't predict the Roman Cena match happening, but who else gets the final Cena match outside of Roman Reigns or Gunther at this point? I guess there's another, maybe it could be like a Braun Breaker or somebody, but it just doesn't make sense to me like it would for it to be Gunther, or potentially it is Roman. If Roman was heel, I think it would line up a little bit more, but I don't need that match either. I do more so prefer the idea of, maybe Seth does get a win over Roman at Survivor Series, and then Roman's off TV until the Rumble again. I've said this in text to you. I've said this in text to Ryan. I've said this before. I still think Sami is winning the Rumble, and that kind of puts a screw into plans. Maybe Gunther doesn't get that Cody match. I don't predict Sammy going after Cody, but then Sammy goes after Rollins. I don't know. There's definitely some things that can happen, but there is something electric about Sammy and Roman being the last two in that Rumble. And Sammy throws Roman over those top ropes. That place might crash down.
I, on paper, wouldn't hate Cena facing Braun Breaker in his final match. But then Braun Breaker's got to split from the Vision if that's the case.
And I don't want that.
I don't want that either. If you're facing John Cena in his retirement match, you are not in a trio. You are not in a stable. You are the guy. You are not at like. That's why I think it's Gunther, two-time world champion at this point. Calling the shot right now. Bookmark this. Would not be surprised. We get Gunther retire Cena in his final match.
I know where you're going.
Gunther wins the Rumble and faces Cody Mania Night 1 and loses. Would not be surprised if that was.
I can see that route for sure. I also can see a route where Gunther does retire Cena. And then again, Sami Zayn is in the mix a little bit. So, what do you do with a guy like that? If you're going to give Sami that Rumble slot, Gunther perhaps doesn't get a championship match at WrestleMania. Would I love it? Yes, I would. Gunther versus Brock, though, man. I mean, it's got to happen eventually, right? WrestleMania 42.
That's a great point.
You got to get that match in there before Brock is said and done. I don't predict Sami going after any title but Seth's title. Sami versus Cody would be a great match, but it doesn't sell it for me like it would the Sami Seth story. Maybe it is Roman Punk one-on-one at Mania, Gunther, Brock, Sami, Seth, Cody. Who at that point, though, would be the next question. That's all. That's probably the best answer. Yeah. Whole other podcast for that one, though. But, man, I can start to see things shaping up. There's a bunch of timelines, it's the Marvel Universe, bunch of timelines, but they're starting to minimize. There's only so many to choose from at this point.
Yeah, it's Sami moving to SmackDown right now might be the ultimate Doctor Strange. Trust me, this is the right path. Yeah, it might be where it's like, wait, that's weird. What do you mean? They've clearly been building for him to face Rollins. I don't get it. Why would they move him over to SmackDown? Blah, blah, blah. And it's, trust me. If he wins the Rumble, he can face either champion.
Yeah, him versus Cody again. Yeah, him versus Cody again doesn't quite do it for me, but him moving to SmackDown makes it a big possibility that is the case. That maybe they are trying to somehow just get him and Cody involved with each other a little bit more to make that feud happen.
See, I think it's the opposite. I think it is to pull him away from Seth for a few months.
Yeah.
Because right now, Seth, there's so many people. You have to finish things with LA Knight, which, they've obviously been doing. Kind of finish things with CM Punk and finish things with Roman Reigns. That if Sami is going to win the Rumble, which we've pretty much said since they announced it, he's the betting favorite.
Yeah.
In Saudi, that's the betting favorite. If Sami's on Raw, there's only so many Karrion Kross feuds he can do that's distracting him from going after Rollins. The easiest way to do it is pull him to a completely different brand, like SmackDown, tie him up into this story that probably takes him through War Games, takes him through all of that.
Yeah.
Then you're right at the Rumble build, and when he wins the Rumble, he can then just choose to face Seth Rollins. Now, I love that. I'm all for that. There is almost a better chance I win the lottery than Sami versus Seth main eventing night 2 over Cody versus Roman 3, Cody versus Punk, who knows, whatever. There is just very little chance that happens. So, I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but the betting favorite is obviously Sami. It is nice, though, that him moving to SmackDown, you could argue that it's a sign that he's going to win. You can argue it's a sign that he's not.
Yeah, it is one of those things, too. The brand split is dead. they can do whatever the fuck they want at this point. So Sammy might be on SmackDown, LA might be on Raw, but they're crossing lines left and right. So I do think their idea is they're moving pieces to set up for Mania. That is the idea, but anything can happen. There's a lot of talent to get involved at this WrestleMania, even just like the more so mid-tier guys right now, you're going to get Penta on the card. He's not going to be in a championship feud, but, you got to get a lot of these guys involved somewhere. Somebody always gets left out. It's hard to not leave somebody out. If you're not going to run back the Punk, Roman, Rollins triple threat, where does Punk and Roman get involved? Maybe Punk does get Cody, but then Roman gets Rollins, but then Sammy gets who? Then who does Gunther get? Maybe Brock. Is Sammy left out? You would doubt it. Where does LA Knight fit into all this? Because LA Knight still is a top contender, one of the greatest acts they got going right now, and it seems like he's getting kind of stiffed. He's in a similar like Drew McIntyre slot of just kind of right there, can't quite reach that top level. Eventually, you would hope he does, but I just don't know if Mania 42 is going to be the place for a guy like Drew, a guy like LA, because there's so much else going on outside of them. And all of this in the long run is only more so building up the Braun Breakers of the world. That's the next in line guy. Man, Mania 42, it's a fucking shame they're running it back in Vegas, if we're being honest. That's definitely a shame. But we said this last year, so we were proven a little bit wrong, but it's shaping up like it could be a pretty stellar WrestleMania even this early on. Again, the timelines, there's many ways they can go, but they're starting to minimize. And if our vision is correct, I'm liking where they're going.
SummerSlam kind of confirmed what we were saying, and I think them running back Mania in Vegas also confirms. They know they butchered the fuck out of Mania 41. Deep down, they have to know. There's no way they look back on that entire show. Not just, look, the main event night one was obviously great.
Yeah.
I know.
Tom wins the IC title. Those are like the two highlights to me.
That and the women's triple threat was.
Yes, on the women's triple threat. Yes.
Like those were, outside of that, like it was, Becky's return was not received well. The Cody Cena match truly,
not good.
Truly damn near ruined the whole show. The Travis Scott, all of it.
Yeah.
But fucking Logan Paul, people were not happy about that. Whatever. We know he's not going anywhere. But SummerSlam kind of confirmed, they needed to wash the stink away from Mania 41. And that's what that Cena Cody match did. I think Mania 42 is the bygones be bygones. We're going to right the wrong in this building. SummerSlam story-wise fixed a lot of things. But show-wise, let's knock this out of the park. Because if we're being honest, almost all the PLEs are pretty fucking good. So when they're that bad, it's so glaring that they're that bad. Because the others, even your okay shows in comparison to your top shows, were way better than what we got for Mania 41. So I do think 42, I hate that it's in Vegas, but let's wash the stink away. I'll really be nervous, though, when they say 43 is also in Vegas.
Yeah, 43 might be worse than Vegas, if we're being honest here. 43 in Saudi.
Well,
worst case scenario.
That's 42.5 that we're gonna get.
Yeah,
43.
That is does
they're gonna do too.
The greatest WrestleMania. Yeah, that does not count at all as a WrestleMania. They're gonna right the wrongs with WrestleMania 42 for sure, and they already did a little bit with SummerSlam. I agree. The 2-night cards, they stacked these cards. SummerSlam Night 1 did not stand up to SummerSlam Night 2. There's a difference in essentially some of these days of the same events. There's a lot they got to book to really erase the entirety of Mania 41 from memory. It might not come down to just one more great Cody Cena match. There's a little bit more they might have to do there. But again, I think they're in a good slot to do so. They have a lot of great moments that can lead up to that event. Again, Sammy or Gunther winning the Rumble is a fantastic moment leading into Mania. I'm sure they're going to run back a Chamber. I could do without it. Chamber's a little overplayed. But I really want to see a lot of these feuds long term be booked out into this Mania storyline. And world title picture, we're getting that one way or another. Again, any combination of Seth versus Sammy, Roman, Punk, LA, who cares, whatever. All of that would be great long term storytelling. I want to see Cody start getting involved, even if it's slightly, into what could be going on leading into WrestleMania. You know, drop some hints. Maybe we can get ourselves there. I'm looking forward to it all. Don't get me wrong. But man, they thought 41 was going to be great and they butchered it. If they were to butcher 42 as well, back to back, Vegas will never get a Mania. Well, it will. It makes so much money. But, you know, it should never get a Mania again at that point.
Yeah, ban it. Put it on the ban list from all shows. I'm excited. That's a long ways away.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Clash in Paris, which is a week away.
Not that long.
Just a couple days away. We have NXT Heat Wave, which the card pretty solid. I'm not going to run through the whole card, but there's a few things that we definitely wanted to touch on. First things first, this past NXT, we had Javon Evans beating Trick Williams. Javon Evans getting the title shot now for the NXT Championship instead of Trick Williams. And if you didn't watch NXT, it really was built furthering the Trick Williams Mike Santana storyline, which one would assume is going to be leading towards Bound for Glory, which is not too far away. We're about a month and a half away.
Yeah.
About a month and a half away from that. But Javon Evans, Obafemi for the NXT Championship. This is Javon's, he's had a couple of chances now. And it's weird because I would want to say in a normal situation, as a car keeps honking, I would want to say in a normal situation, oh, this feels so quick for Javon to win. Like, he just quickly got the title shot, whatever. But his history with Oba, his history chasing for the championship, it's been going on for a while where I wouldn't be shocked if he won, but I'd be let down if Oba's title reign ended at Heat Wave.
Yes, I completely agree. I would be let down if it ends at Heat Wave, the Oba title run. I've been saying for ages, I think Javon is the guy to take the title off Oba. I think that makes the most sense. I do think it is booked a little too quick. Yeah, they have some history there, but he gets the matchup a couple days prior to the event. I think they can do it on a grander stature. And it's not even just the kind of grander stature for the one-time matchup. It's more Javon is the next guy. You want to book him strong. I think like the kind of comeback story. Oba gets the win over Javon at Heat Wave, and Javon's got to fight his way up to get that match again. Ends up getting it at whatever next event. Even if they run Oba till Stand and Deliver. Stand and Deliver would probably be the next best place for Javon to get that big NXT Championship win. That could be one of the more memorable moments in Stand and Deliver NXT history. Oba, you mentioned Trick. Trick probably drops the title to Santana at Bound for Glory, rightfully so. I think he should at that point. Oba and Trick are next in line on the call-up list. Trick almost especially has run that course. Oba has run that course. Those are two guys that got to be getting called up soon. I wouldn't be surprised if they get called up pre-WrestleMania. Hell, they're probably both the Rumble spots for NXT this year. It makes the most sense perhaps. What do you do with Trick and Oba when they get called up? That's a whole other podcast again, but there's just not much left for them in NXT. Even drawing out the Oba Javon storyline might be a little dry for Oba, not as much for Javon, but I think there's still a story to be told there of Oba not even being like this mega heel, but the passer of the torch to Javon Evans.
Yeah, that you took the words out of my mouth. The only way Oba loses is because his call-up is coming sooner rather than later, where I wouldn't be shocked if a post-Survivor Series he got called up because they had plans for him for the Rumble leading into Mania. You mentioned it before, though. There's only so many spots. Those are two guys where I truly feel they're almost, granted, it doesn't hurt them in their development being in NXT longer. Trick, I think actually it's helped them even more having that extra time because people were calling for Trick to be called up a year ago.
Yeah.
So I actually think it's helped Trick staying down. Now that he's heel, he's found this whole new like breath of fresh air to his character. They both, though, kind of fell into negative on both sides, where there's so much talent on the main roster and there's so many people and there's so few spots that you don't want to call them up and they get lost in the shuffle. On the flip side, NXT's men's division need both of them so bad that they like almost couldn't both get called up. They almost had to stay there for a bit. Get a Jasper Troy built up a little bit more to take the spot of an Oba, something along those lines. If they have a Mania match for Oba, I could see him dropping the title on Sunday and moves on. Maybe has one last match to a Jasper Troy and loses this time, and then he's up for the Rumble. Who knows? I'm not against it. We don't need to start fantasy booking matchups for Oba, but it does feel this is the match that ends his title reign, whether it's at Heatwave, whether it's at Stand and Deliver, whether it's at some NXT on a Tuesday. Oba versus Javon is the end of Oba's reign, start of Javon's reign. And hell, I don't think Javon's even going to have a long title reign. I could see him losing it quickly to like a Ricky Starks or hell, even an Ethan Page. I don't know. But I do like kind of the quick change up for this match.
Yes.
I didn't really, not that I hated Oba versus Trick. I was going to tune in. I was excited for it. But I didn't really like need it.
Yeah, I
Oba
mean,
versus Javon, I'm down with it.
I knew the Oba Javon match was coming like for certain a couple weeks ago when they had Undertaker backstage with Javon. Like, you're next, whatever he said, Oba and Trick get called up, whether it's now or WrestleMania, post WrestleMania, whatever. The biggest trouble with them getting called up now wouldn't even be what do you do with Trick and Oba on the main roster? What the fuck would you do with NXT? Who would be next? Jasper Troy, I think, is a great name. Don't get me wrong. They can kind of skyrocket him a little bit. But that would be their biggest problem is Stand and Deliver. Would that not really be shaped up to be that fantastic, that electric? Yeah, there's a lot of TNA talent that can get involved and whatnot, but NXT needs male talent right now. Maybe there's a new fresh face in developmental. Maybe they get a signing somewhere and they bring some people over, but that's all really hypotheticals at this point. That would be the biggest hit is that NXT would suffer from Oba and Trick both coming up right now by the Rumble before WrestleMania. I kind of more so like the idea of them riding it out. Oba losing the title, even if he loses it at Stand and Deliver. My only thing with Oba is I just looked it up while you were talking. If there was ever a guy to be the longest running NXT champion, it's Oba. But he's about 130 days out from that. I don't know the timeline off the top of my head, how many days away, whatever. I'm sure it's more than 130. We're out from WrestleMania. You're probably 30. 60, we're probably a good 200 days.
Yeah, you're looking. It's like 6.5 months away. 6 times 30 is what?
How many days?
180.
So
you're probably close to about 200.
Yeah, you're closing. You're closing in. I like the idea of Oba breaking that 224 days. I like the idea of Oba breaking it and losing it, possibly a Stand and Deliver. I think that makes the most sense. Even if he breaks it by fucking day, he's not going to hold. He doesn't have to hold it for 500 days. 403 days is the record. I think that really helps cement Oba, and then it helps again cement Javon. He beat the longest running NXT champion, and like you said, Javon doesn't have to have a long title run. He can flip that title in a month, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. Javon is another one of those guys. He's young enough to have 3 or 4 NXT title runs under his belt before he gets the call up.
When Oba broke the North American title record, didn't he drop it fairly quick to Tony D after that?
I think he did. I don't think he held it for much longer after that.
It was like a week or two after. Like it wasn't super long after holding it. So I mean, you could have that exact thing here. You mentioned potentially getting some new guys, and they did just hold a bunch of tryouts. I wouldn't be shocked if like Ben Bishop is on NXT in 2 weeks. I don't know. Who knows how these things play out? But no disrespect to any of those tryouts, people that tried out, I can't imagine any of them are going to be signed and immediately taking the spot of Oba Femi and Trick Williams. Like you're going to be kind of worked in. Hell, even like Lexis King, who we like, worked in slowly, kind of
Miles
creeps
Bourne.
towards. Yeah, exactly. So still some aspect there. One thing about NXT that we do have to touch on though, Dark State, man. Look, I know a lot of people did not like them from the jump. So I'm
Mm,
not going to sit here and like victory lap that I was, oh, I call a lot of people felt this way.
yeah.
And this is not because of the four individuals. It was just the story, how it was being handled, history repeating itself, you name it. This past Tuesday, when they when they were doing a backstage segment and it's like I love Joe Hendry who hell he may be the name on NXT soon as well. When they're doing this backstage segment and it's almost like a goofy segment. It's like, wow. I for a minute forgot that when this team debuted, they were destroying everything, not just people, like buildings,
Yeah.
cars,
Yeah.
cutting camera feeds. Like it genuinely felt like this is a joke, right? Like I don't take these guys serious at all.
Yeah. I mean, I think the writing's on the wall being that their segments have changed. They've gone to almost a comedic role in a little bit. I think it's not even a thought of like, oh, they're trying something new. I think they just kind of know that Dark State isn't going to be it. So they don't got to take it as serious anymore. You know, they're not going to prop them up to be some crazy group. Do they win the tag titles? Fucking hope not, to be honest. The tag division in NXT also needs some help. I hope they can get some help there too. But Dark State just ain't doing it for me. And it's nothing against the talent. Dion Lennox is great. I like Saquon Sugars, you know, Color James. They're all fine in their own right. They're all guys that would be better off in their own right, or other tag teams or other factions or whatever. Sometimes it just doesn't click. And for Dark State, it ain't clicking.
And you know, with factions too, a lot of time I don't want to like completely shit on them, but a lot of times with factions, like, all right, you know who the main guy is.
Mm-hmm.
I have no fucking clue who the main guy is.
No idea. They don't have a main guy. It's Trick
And
Williams, remember?
yeah, that can be good when you're all established names.
Yeah.
When you're not, I'm like, I look at this team and I would like if I knew these two mainly team together, sometimes this third guy mixes in with a team. This guy is the singles guy, and he's going to be going for the North American Championship, whatever. To me, that would help so much more.
It was. There's no.
Like them always, in four ways. And like, I like the Freebird rule. I'm not against that. And I'm not against the group of individuals, but it can only go so far. I can only get so invested. Like, for instance, if you make it clear one of these guys is the main guy that like the company cares about, and you say it's Dion Lennox, I don't know. It's like, no, I kind of like Sugars. I'm gonna get behind Sugars a lot more because I'm gonna be like, this is the fucking guy. This is the guy I like. I see that you guys don't let him eat pins, but this is the guy who shouldn't be eating pins. I'm automatically more invested right then and there. Like, just as simple as that. It just
Yep.
is missing so many things.
Yeah, I don't think they had a real plan with Dark State. I think it was just kind of a faction, a team they brought in. They had these four guys they didn't know what to do with, even as single stars. So they threw them together with no real plan forward. They were coming out, destroying buildings, cars, attacking everybody, but again, with no plan on what to do with these guys. And it just isn't working. It wasn't working from the beginning. At what point do you end it? You know, I don't think we need any more Dark State, if I'm being honest. Again, I think they could all benefit. We just talked about how NXT is going to need talent, you know, when Shriek and Oba come up. Those are four guys that, who knows, on their own right, could be four established solos guys, tag teams, whatever, who knows. Maybe that is better than having this faction right now. On top of NXT having a couple factions throughout, you know, I'm not even like in love with the culling, to be fair, you know, not the greatest faction right now. I'm not crazy on it, but more credit to them right now. They at least got some storylines, some things going on. You know, there's some establishment there in what they're doing. With Dark State, there's just nothing.
All right, so real quick before we go, Dark State or Hang and Tank.
Hank and Tank.
I think Dark State wins.
Mm-hmm.
Javon or Oba.
Oba.
I think Oba wins as well. TNA Knockouts Championship. JC Jane, Masha, Ash. Is Ash third?
I believe so.
Who walks out?
Masha.
I think JC Jane still wins.
I think she could. I think that's very possible. I just eventually they'll flip the title back, but I don't think they're going to do. I don't think Trick and JC are both going to lose the belts at Bound for Glory. I mean, they fucking could. Who knows?
They could, but
yeah.
I mean, they're both on both shows like every week. So
yeah.
What's the difference? That's pretty much it. Subscribe or you're a coward.
Big time.
Gunther, greatest of all time, without question. That's what's missing in wrestling right now. Also, I should mention at the time of this recording, it is, what is today's date? August 20th. Happy birthday,
Gunther. The GOAT.
The GOAT.
Gotta send it off with the pose. Feels so good.
My back cracked while doing that. That felt really good, actually. All right. See you guys later. Subscribe or you're a coward.